Be'ezrat Hashem Siyata Deshmaya, we're gonna start limud continue limud in Sefer Yirat Hashem from yesterday. We have today is the 17th of the month of Mar Cheshvan, Monday, the second day of the week of Parshat Shabbat, Chayei Sarah. Be'ezrat Hashem. So we continue here in Yirat Hashem. ועוד נקדים שבית הראשון נבנה בזכות אברהם. He also say that continuing the explanation of the Haftarah of Lech Lecha, the rabbi says we have to indicate that the Beit HaMikdash, the first one, was actually built in the merit of Abraham Avinu. Isha Chesed Midad Rachamim. Abraham Avinu was all about mercy and kindness. ובגלל ביטול תורה נחרב כי לא יוכלו ישראל לעמוד בניסיון של רוב טובה ככתוב וישמן ישורון ויבד. Because the first Beit HaMikdash, the people of the Jewish people did not study Torah constantly, okay, and unfortunately it had to be destroyed. But by the first Beit HaMikdash we have to know that silver was on the floor like rocks. There was so much wealth, so much prosperity in the first Beit HaMikdash, and they did not listen to Torah. They didn't want to learn Torah. As it says in the Pasuk, V'ishman Yishurun Ve'ivad, when unfortunately sometimes in Russian they say, Adjiru Bezitza, right? They have people that they have too much goodness, they become crazy. Beit Sheni Nivna B'schut Yitzchak. So we know that, so the first Beit HaMikdash was Midat Avraham Avinu, Chesed. And obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave a lot of opportunity for people to do chesed. One of the best ways to do chesed is having money. It's very nice, poor people helping each other, but you need rich people to support the activities of the community and to support poor people. So you need money. That's why HaShem in the first Beit HaMikdash used the sample of Avraham Avinu, and he gave prosperity. And looks like they were doing chesed sometimes, but they did not learn Torah. And if you don't learn Torah, sometimes you do chesed, it's actually avirah. As we already learned that here, like yesterday we discussed, that Hashem made a big kindness. The baby cannot have milk come out of the chest of the woman, of his mother, so fast, because if Hashem is going to give too much milk, he's going to choke and die. So Hashem has to make it with hardship, that the baby sucks, and it's hard for him to withdraw the milk. Amen. And Hashem is making sure that's the kindness, that sometimes hardship is the kindness in order for the perfection to become. So continues the rabbi and he says Yitzchak was the second Beit HaMikdash, Yitzchak Avinu. Midat Tova, right? Midat Gevurah, which was the strength, Vedin and judgment. Ubiglar she'imidu divrehem al din Torah, and they were very strict about complying with the law. And unfortunately, the Torah Gemara says over there, the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed is because they followed the letter of the law. You cannot follow halacha where, maybe it's inconvenient for another person. But it's halacha. You're right. Hashem says you're right. You follow the halacha, but you're not here to follow the letter of the law. You're here to be kind to other people, and you have to be here to help out other people. So Beit HaMikdash was a lot of prosperity to help other people they did not use. And they went against Torah, not Hashem, because they were not learning Torah. They think they do chesed, but they were doing averot because it's not real chesed. Same thing by second Beit HaMikdash. They follow the Torah. As we say that if you follow the letter of the law, you will be hurting other people. Right? There is actually a Jew. Is very successful today here in America. Very successful. He has a talk show, and he is what's his name? He makes about $10 to $15 million a year just from talking, and he's a very nice, sharp talker. But when I hear him, he's a little bit off. And he wears a kippah, and he's a religious Jew. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Very famous Jew. But I don't want to say his name now in a video. But his problem is he is very aggressive. He says halakha is halakha and finish. I don't care. What do you want from me, right? Why you're not supposed to be sensitive? No, the Torah teaches other Rabbi, you're supposed to be sensitive. That's exactly what happened to the Beit HaMikdash. The second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because they followed the halakha. For instance, somebody comes to me for a eitzah, wants to take an advice, a counsel. I'm not a young boy. So he asks me, Rabbi, I'm thinking to buy a house. What can you suggest? So I tell everybody the same answer. I say, if you are ready to have in your mind that all your neighbors are always right, you are always wrong in front of your neighbor. If that's the case, buy a house. If you're not ready to accept that you're always wrong next to your neighbor, don't buy a house. You're only going to be a destruction. It's not a mitzvah. You buy a house, and if your neighbor did something that you don't like, he put his garbage on your side, I don't care what, you have to swallow it. If there's garbage in your house because of your neighbor, go out and clean it out. Don't be, it's your garbage, take it out, be a stubborn head. No, don't. You have to figure out how to live with your neighbor, and you're always wrong. That's the halakha. And Baruch HaShem, whoever takes my advice, if they buy a house, they'll have a good life. They'll have a good life. Okay? But Beit HaMikdash HaSheni, they didn't follow that. They said, listen, this is your garbage on my side. You're responsible for it, clean it up. And they fought to the letter, went to Beit Din, to judgment. The Torah says, don't go to Beit Din if you could afford it. If the guy owes you or the guy took something from you don't, what do you need a whole machlokes, fights, all those things? If you could afford it, don't do it. If you can't, this is a different story. A poor person should chase, his needs. But a rich man, if it's you know what? The halakha says, actually, I heard from Rabbi Bren, use your tzedakah money and don't go to Beit Din. Meaning, use the tzedakah money that you want to give charity, pay off the person's iniquities, and chalas. Again, this is what we're talking about. Velo asu lifnei mishurat hadin. The point of, in the second Beit HaMikdash, they didn't do lifnei mishurat hadin, ומזה נגרם שאינה שנאת חינם ביניהם. And they hated each other. Why? Because each one claimed that he's right and the other one is wrong. So the Torah tells me, if you see the other person doing something wrong, they are allowed to hate him. The Torah tells you you're allowed to hate a person who does averot. So obviously, if in a generation everybody thinks he's always right and the other person is always wrong, so obviously they start hating them, and that's called sinat chinam. And therefore, the second Beit HaMikdash also got destroyed. They didn't have the love between each other. And we see the first Beit HaMikdash was too much great, so the Jews cannot handle too much prosperity. And also, the other way around, the Jews cannot handle too much judgment. This is called the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, the first one. And Beit Sheni, and the second one. HaShem Israel, Shehu Pam Rahamim Levad, Upam Din Levad. And it's what? It's about a Jewish people. Israel, Yashar Al El. The nation is straight, or this way or that way. V'lachen, therefore, Teivat Israel murkevet mishtei Teivot Yashar Beshin Smolit. Therefore, Israel is wrapped around. On one side, it's Yashar, straightness. Beshin Smolit. Lashon Sar. Oh, Israel, it's a shin. Instead of Yashar, it's sin. Right? What it means? Sar. Like a person in charge. Rem is the Midat Adin, which is Sar is a person who's in charge. He has to be sometimes judgment. V'tevat El, and the conclusion of the name Aleph Lamed El, Sheyeh Chesed. Aleph Lamed, the Shem Hashem El. Whenever you mention in the prayer or whatever the name El is mentioned, that's kindness. Remez lemidat harachamim. This is how a Jew will. It has to be both of them combined. And with Hashem tomorrow we will discuss V'siyata Deshmaya, with Hashem's help, how to combine it all and live a prosperous and kind Jewish life. Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen. Amen. With Hashem will continue. Halachot Shabbat 8:45.